The wind outside Amanda Halterman's house carried the last breaths of winter, heavy and cold, as though the season itself lingered just to witness the changes unfolding in her life. Inside, Amanda stood in front of her mirror, the soft glow of the bedroom lamp casting long shadows across the room. She stared not at her reflection, but through it, into all the years she had carried on her shoulders, the heartbreaks, the battles, and the victories too small for anyone outside her family to ever understand. It had been months of quiet transformation, months where she refused to let the world see the soft wounds beneath her strong, loud exterior. Fans of 1,000-Pound Sisters knew Amanda as the fierce, outspoken sister. The one who didn't hesitate to speak her mind, the one who protected Tammy and Amy like a shield forged out of pure fire. But behind that fire lived a woman still patching pieces of herself back together. The breakup she had endured had carved something deep inside her, something she never talked about on camera, not fully. It wasn't the kind of heartbreak that explodes in one night of tears and shouting. It was the slow, aching kind that drained her spirit day after day, the kind that made you question if moving forward was even worth the effort. But tonight, something in her felt different. She traced her fingers over an old photograph pressed against the mirror's edge. A younger version of herself smiled back, slimmer, glowing, carefree in ways she sometimes struggled to remember. In that frozen moment, she looked unstoppable. That woman had dreams, confidence, and a kind of hope that radiated from her eyes. And somewhere deep inside, Amanda felt the stirring of that old fire again. For weeks, she had been thinking about posting those throwback photos, thinking about showing her followers that she wasn't done, that her journey wasn't stuck, that she wasn't giving up. But fear always held her back. Fear of comments, fear of judgment, fear of failing publicly. But then something unexpected happened, something she didn't plan for, didn't predict, didn't even realize she needed. She found love again. Leonard Moore was not a man she ever imagined would walk into her life. He wasn't loud.
He wasn't chaotic.
He carried a quiet warmth that made her feel seen, truly seen, for the first time in a long time. At first, she kept it hidden. She wasn't ready to open that part of her heart, not even to fans who cared deeply about her journey. But love has a way of whispering to the broken pieces of a person, urging them to trust again. And now, as she looked at herself in the mirror, remembering how Leonard made her laugh during their New Year's celebration, how he squeezed her hand when she felt insecure, how he didn't push her, just waited, she felt something shift inside her. The courage returned. She pulled out her phone, opened her camera roll, and found the throwback pictures. In them she was smaller, healthier, more confident. Not perfect, not fully healed, but strong. The kind of strong that came from fighting quietly, privately. And she wanted that strength back. With a deep breath, she hit post. Her caption was simple, but it pulsed with meaning. 2025, I'm coming for you. Time to get back to where I feel like me. Within minutes, the comments poured in encouragement, cheers, people sharing their own stories. It felt like the world had been waiting for her to take the first step, and now that she had, they were ready to walk with her. Amanda sat on the edge of her bed, reading every message, every heart emoji, every prayer. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was walking alone. She felt seen, supported, stronger. But the truth was, this step wasn't just about weight loss. It wasn't just about getting slimmer for the cameras or for the upcoming season. It was about reclaiming the parts of herself she lost along the way, the joy, the confidence, the belief that she deserved to feel good in her body and her life. And as she leaned back, closing her eyes, she thought about Leonard again. Her quietly steady man. The one who wasn't trying to change her, just cheering her on. The new year hadn't just brought a new goal. It brought new love, new motivation, and a new fire burning beneath her ribs. Amanda didn't know where this journey would take her. But she knew this. She wasn't stuck anymore. She was moving again. And the world, her family, her fans, and the man who made her smile without trying, were all going to witness it. The sun had barely risen the next morning when Amanda stepped into her kitchen, the faint smell of coffee drifting through the air. The house was quiet, still carrying the softness of dawn, and for a long moment, she simply stood there, leaning against the counter, letting the silence wrap around her like a warm blanket. Her phone buzzed constantly on the table beside her, messages from followers, notifications from her Instagram post, and a couple from her siblings. She hadn't expected such a response. Honestly, she wasn't expecting anything at all. But the outpouring of support shook her in a way she didn't quite know how to describe. It wasn't just encouragement. It wasn't just love. It was belief. Belief that she could do this. Belief that her journey still mattered. Belief that she still had chapters left to write. She took a slow sip from her mug, feeling the warmth slide down her throat, and let herself breathe. When she glanced back at her phone, she saw a message from Tammy, short, but full of meaning.
Proud of you, sis.
2025 gonna be your year. Amanda smiled. Tammy wasn't the kind of person who showered people with praise, but when she meant something, she said it. And that message told Amanda everything she needed to know. Her sister, the one who had struggled for years, the one who fought tooth and nail for her life, believed in her.
There was power in that.
And then another message lit up the screen. Leonard. She felt her heart flutter. That strange, warm flutter she still wasn't used to, the one she pretended didn't happen when her sisters teased her about him. His text read, "Saw your post. Just wanted to say I'm proud of you too. Whatever you need, I'm here." It was simple. No pressure.
No expectations.
Just support, clean, honest, and real. Amanda traced her thumb along the phone screen as if she could feel him through it. She wasn't used to this kind of gentle love. She wasn't used to someone standing back, giving her space, and still being close enough that she could reach for them whenever she wanted. And maybe that's why it scared her. Not because she didn't trust him, but because she didn't want to disappoint him. She set the phone down and inhaled deeply, grounding herself. She thought of her throwback picture again, the slimmer waistline, the sharper jawline, the confidence radiating from her smile. She wanted that woman back. Not because of anyone else, but because she missed her. She missed waking up without pain in her knees. She missed walking without running out of breath. She missed wearing clothes because she loved them, not because they were the only thing that fit. She missed feeling beautiful. Not pretty. Not decent. Beautiful. She wanted to feel like the version of herself she once promised she'd never lose. And so she opened her journal, the same one she had abandoned months ago when life had gotten too messy, and wrote at the top of a clean page, "New year. New strength. New me." Then beneath it, "My goal isn't a number. It's a feeling." Her pen hesitated, like her heart was catching up to her hand, and then continued, "I want to feel alive again." She closed the journal gently, her fingers lingering on the cover, and stared out the window at the pale morning light stretching across the sky. It felt like a beginning, quiet, soft, and full of possibility. But beginnings were fragile.
She knew that.
And as the familiar heaviness settled into her chest, the weight of expectations, of her fans watching, of the cameras waiting, of her own inner critic whispering that she wouldn't succeed, she forced herself to stand tall. She wasn't the same woman she was last year. She wasn't even the same woman she was last month. She had survived heartbreak. She had survived weight gain and plateaus. She had survived doubt, from others and from herself. And she wasn't going back.
Her phone buzzed again.
This time it was Amy. "Girl, I saw your post. Who is that man you've been smiling about?" Eyes faced with tears of joy, face with hand over mouth, Amanda laughed out loud, shaking her head. Leave it to Amy to cut through the emotional fog with a joke. But even that message gave her strength. Her family was behind her, even as their own lives spun in different directions. She set her mug aside, stretched her arms upward, and took the first deep breath of the day, one that filled her lungs with something she hadn't felt in a long time.
Hope.
It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was just steady. The kind of hope that plants roots quietly and waits for you to grow into it. And as she stepped forward into the next hours of her day, she knew the truth with a clarity she could feel all the way down to her bones. This journey wasn't about reclaiming an old version of herself. It was about discovering a stronger one. One who refused to dim her light. One who refused to shrink herself emotionally even as she shrank physically. One who knew she deserved happiness, not temporary, not conditional, but real. Amanda wasn't competing with her past. She was becoming her future. And for the first time in a long time, she was ready. The afternoon light filtered softly through Amanda's living room curtains, turning the space a warm honey gold. She sank into the couch with a sigh, the leather creaking under her weight, and for a moment she let herself simply exist. No expectations, no pressure, no cameras waiting to catch her most vulnerable angles. But her mind was restless. Her thoughts drifted back to the plateau she had hit, the frustrating, suffocating standstill that had hovered over her for months. It was like walking through thick mud. Every step felt heavy, slow, and pointless. She worked out. She ate better. She tried. She really tried. But the scale just refused to move. Some days, she'd stare at the numbers flashing back at her and feel like they were mocking her. You're stuck. You're failing. You're going backward. The voice in her head, the harsh one she had carried since childhood, liked to twist the knife every time she faltered. But Amanda wasn't that little girl anymore, the one who hid behind oversized shirts and long sleeves, the one who avoided mirrors, the one who pretended she didn't hear people whispering about her weight. She had survived too much to shrink now. Still, the plateau hurt, and the shame that sometimes came with it hurt even more. Her phone buzzed on the coffee table. This time she didn't expect a sibling or a fan. It was Leonard. Leonard. Busy? She stared at the message, her heartbeat drumming softly in her chest. They talked often now, sometimes about their days, sometimes about nothing at all, sometimes about things that scared them. But she hadn't told him everything. She hadn't told him about the plateau, or the frustration, or the nights when she cried into her pillow, afraid she would fail herself again. She typed back slowly. Amanda, just thinking. His reply came almost instantly. Leonard. About good things or heavy things? It was the gentleness in that message that undid her. No pressure.
No assuming.
Just care. Amanda. A little of both. This time, a few minutes passed before he replied. Leonard. If the heavy gets too heavy, you can hand a little piece to me. Her eyes stung. She blinked, staring at the words until they blurred. What was she supposed to do with someone like him? Someone who didn't just want her smile, but wanted to help carry her storms? She set the phone aside and leaned back, pressing her hand over her mouth to steady the sudden rush of emotion. She wasn't used to being seen like this. Not beyond the cameras. Not beyond the edited versions of her life that the show pieced together for entertainment. He saw her in ways she didn't expect anyone to, and that terrified her. Not because of him, but because of what it demanded from her. Vulnerability.
Trust. Honesty.
3 things she had avoided like landmines for most of her adult life. She closed her eyes, remembering the night she first met Leonard at a local event almost a year ago, the way he had looked at her without any of the usual pity or judgment she saw in other people's eyes. The way he laughed with his whole chest. The way he listened, not to respond but to understand. He had no idea that he had arrived in her life at the exact moment she was breaking quietly inside.
But he stayed anyway. Her phone buzzed again.
Leonard. You want to go out tonight? Dinner, drive, anything. I just want to see you. Amanda laughed, a small, breathless sound. He always said things like that so easily, like wanting her was the most natural thing in the world. She typed back, Amanda, a drive sounds nice. His answer came in seconds. Leonard, pick you up in an hour. She set the phone down and slowly rose from the couch. A drive wasn't just a drive. Not for them. It was where she let herself breathe. Where she let herself talk. Where her fears didn't feel like they were swallowing her whole. It was where she felt safe. As she walked to her bedroom to get ready, she caught her reflection in the mirror. Her silhouette, softer than she wanted it to be, stared back at her. And for a moment that familiar shame tugged at her ribs. But then she remembered the messages. The support. The belief. The hope she wrote down that morning. She stood taller. If Leonard could see beauty in her, if her followers could see strength in her, if her sisters could see potential in her, then maybe, just maybe, she could learn to see it too. She reached for a shirt that made her feel confident. A small step. A quiet rebellion against the voice that tried to tell her she wasn't enough. Tonight, she wasn't chasing perfection. She wasn't chasing a number on a scale. She wasn't chasing the past version of herself. She was chasing peace. And she damn well deserved that. As she ran a brush through her hair, letting it fall softly around her shoulders, she took a deep breath and whispered to her reflection, one step at a time. It wasn't a promise.
It wasn't a guarantee.
It was a commitment, fragile, but real. And with that, Amanda grabbed her purse, her keys, and her courage, and stepped out the door toward the next chapter of her journey. The sun had started its slow descent, staining the sky with shades of lavender and peach as Amanda stepped outside. The air was cool, crisp enough to make her inhale deeply, as if the atmosphere itself were trying to clear the heaviness from her chest. She stood on the front porch for a moment, letting the fading light wash over her. There was something about twilight that always made her feel suspended between worlds, the weight of the day behind her, the uncertainty of the night ahead. It reminded her of her life lately. Not quite where she used to be, not quite where she wanted to go.
Just in between.
A pair of headlights turned onto her street, cutting through the growing dusk. She recognized Leonard's truck instantly. Old, a little dented, but well-loved. Much like the man himself. It rumbled to a stop at the curb, and, before she even reached the bottom of the porch steps, he was already stepping out. He wore that smile. The one that reached his eyes. The one that made deep lines crease at the corners. The one that somehow made her feel both seen and safe. "You look beautiful," he said, without hesitation, without overthinking, without theatrics. Just truth. Amanda shook her head, a soft laugh falling from her lips. "You always say that. Because it's always true." He shrugged like it was the simplest, most obvious fact in the world. She didn't blush often. She hated how it made her cheeks warm and her eyes dart away. But around him, blushing didn't feel embarrassing. It felt alive. He opened the passenger door for her, the old hinges creaking in protest. She climbed in, the familiar scent of pine air freshener and something faintly spicy filling her senses. He slid into the driver's seat a moment later, buckled up and pulled away from the curb. They didn't speak at first. They didn't need to. The muted rumble of the engine, the hum of the road beneath them, the soft country music on the radio, it all blended into a quiet, calming rhythm. The kind of silence that didn't press on the nerves, but instead softened everything inside her. After a few minutes, Leonard glanced over. "Rough day." Amanda rested her head against the cold window glass. "Something like that." "Plateau?" he asked gently. Her chest tightened. She didn't remember telling him. Maybe she hadn't. Maybe he just understood her better than she realized. She nodded.
"Yeah."
"It's been frustrating. Feels like I'm doing everything right and getting nowhere." Leonard tapped the steering wheel lightly, thinking, "You ever see someone try to push a truck stuck in the mud?" She blinked at him, confused.
"What?"
He grinned. "Stay with me. Ever seen it?" "Yeah, I guess." "Truck don't move at first," he said. "You push and it feels like nothing's happening. But what you don't see is the ground shifting under the tires, the mud loosening, the pressure building." And then suddenly he mimicked a dramatic motion with his hand. It pops free and moves forward like it never stopped. Amanda stared at him, stunned by the simplicity and sincerity of his metaphor. "It's not a failure," he continued softly. "It's built in momentum." Her throat tightened with emotion. "You make it sound so easy." "It's not easy," he corrected, "but it's possible." The way he said possible made something warm flicker in her chest. They drove deeper into the countryside, the city lights fading behind them until only darkness and passing fields surrounded the truck. The road curved into a quiet overlook, a place they had stumbled across weeks ago and quietly claimed as their private escape. Leonard parked, turned off the engine, and let the soft night settle over them. Crickets chirped in the grass. A few stars peeked through the clouds, blinking gently like distant lanterns in the sky. Amanda exhaled, long and slow. Sometimes I feel like everyone expects me to be strong all the time. And when I can't be, it feels like I'm failing them. Leonard turned toward her, his voice steady. You don't owe strength to anybody but yourself. She swallowed. What if I let myself down too? You get back up, he said simply. And that's enough. Amanda stared at him, really stared, and something in her softened. He wasn't giving her false hope. He wasn't feeding her empty compliments. He was giving her truth. Quiet, steady, unwavering truth. She leaned back in her seat, letting her shoulders drop as the tension eased from her body. I just want to feel proud of myself again. You should be, Leonard said. You've survived things that would have broken most people. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting those words settle deep in her bones. Survived things. Yes, she had. The divorce, the heartbreak, the weight battles, the public scrutiny, the constant fight to stay afloat emotionally while holding her family together.
She wasn't weak.
She wasn't failing. She was in the middle of a transformation, even if the scale refused to acknowledge it. When she opened her eyes again, Leonard was watching her in that soft, patient way of his. You ready to keep going? He asked. Amanda nodded slowly.
Yeah, I think I am.
He smiled and reached over, gently threading his fingers through hers. Her hand trembled only a little before relaxing into his. And for the first time in months, maybe longer, Amanda felt hopeful. Not because of Leonard. Not because of the plateau breaking. Not because of any story the show might tell about her. But because she was beginning to believe she wasn't stuck at all. She was just gathering momentum. The room fell into a heavy silence, the kind that makes every breath feel louder than it should. Chris's expression tightened as he processed the words hanging in the air. Brittany's eyes softened, but her voice remained firm. She wasn't backing down, not this time. She shifted slightly in her chair, wincing at the lingering discomfort, yet somehow sitting taller, stronger. Chris, she said gently, I know you're tired. I know you've been trying. But you have to see what all this has done to you, to us. You're not the same person you used to be. And I'm scared that if we keep going like this, we might lose everything we've built. Her words weren't harsh, they were worried. They were the words of someone who still loved deeply, but was no longer willing to drown quietly. Chris swallowed hard. For the first time, he didn't try to deflect or defend. He didn't joke his way out of discomfort. He just looked at her. The woman who had stood by him through surgeries, setbacks, family chaos, and public scrutiny. The woman who had carried their home on her back while he carried the weight of the world on his shoulders. And suddenly, he realized she was right. The long nights, the emotional toll, the battles he didn't talk about, they weren't invisible to her. She had been living them too. A breath escaped him, shaky and unsteady. I never wanted to hurt you, he finally whispered. I just didn't want to fail. Brittany's eyes glistened. You didn't fail. You just forgot that you don't have to fight alone. Slowly, Chris reached out and took her hand. It trembled, not with fear, but with relief, because for the first time, he allowed himself to lean on her instead of pretending to be the unbreakable one. In that small, fragile moment, surrounded by beeping monitors and the faint smell of hospital disinfectant, something shifted. Not broken, just changed. And sometimes change is the only way forward. The nurses moved quietly around the room, adjusting monitors and checking charts, but Chris and Brittany remained in their own world, two people trying to find their way back to each other after months of speaking through exhaustion instead of truth. The soft fluorescent lights cast a pale glow across Brittany's face, illuminating the vulnerability she rarely allowed anyone to see. Chris held her hand a little tighter, as if grounding himself in the warmth of her touch. I thought being strong meant fixing everything by myself, he murmured, eyes drifting to the floor. I didn't realize how much I was shutting you out. Brittany sighed softly, brushing her thumb across the back of his hand. You don't have to fix everything. You just have to let me in. Her voice trembled, but her resolve didn't. We're supposed to be a team, Chris. And teams don't win when one person is carrying all the weight. He nodded, swallowing the emotion rising in his throat. For years, he'd been the steady one, the brother who kept peace, the man who stepped up when everyone else fell apart. But somewhere along the way, he forgot that he was allowed to break too. Brittany shifted, adjusting the blanket over her legs. "I was scared," she admitted. "Scared that I was losing you to all the chaos, the stress, the pressure. You were here, but not really here." Her honesty hit him like a quiet punch to the chest, sharp, sudden, and impossible to ignore. He looked up at her, eyes fuller now, softer. "You didn't lose me," he said, voice low but steady. "I just lost myself for a while." For a moment, Brittany didn't respond. Then she leaned back against the pillows, a slow, relieved breath escaping her. "Then let's find you again," she said gently. "Together." The faint beep of the monitor matched the slow beat of something returning between them. Trust, understanding, maybe even hope. It wasn't a grand declaration. It wasn't a dramatic apology. It was quieter than that, more real. Chris lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a small kiss against her knuckles. "I'm not going anywhere," he whispered. And in the sterile stillness of that hospital room, surrounded by uncertainty and exhaustion, something began to mend, not with fireworks, but with honesty. The early morning sunlight filtered softly through the hospital blinds, casting stripes across the floor, and the two figures still sitting close together. Chris and Brittany hadn't spoken much since their quiet reconciliation the night before, but that wasn't needed. Sometimes silence was enough. Sometimes being there was enough. Brittany reached for her phone and scrolled through old pictures of their time together, snapshots of laughter, candid moments with family, vacations that felt simpler than life had become. She smiled faintly, remembering the nights they'd stayed up talking about dreams and fears. Those conversations felt like lifelines now. Chris leaned over to see the screen. "You're looking at us like we're in a museum," he teased softly, attempting to break the heaviness of the moment. Brittany laughed, the sound light and genuine. "Maybe we are," she replied. "A museum of lessons learned, and lessons still being learned." He chuckled, shaking his head. "Yeah, we've had plenty of lessons. Some I wish we could unlearn," Chris admitted, eyes falling to the floor again. Brittany's hand found his, entwining their fingers naturally. "We can't undo the past," she said firmly. "But we can control what comes next." Chris nodded, taking a deep breath. "I want that. I want everything that comes next, with you." The words hung between them, quiet but heavy with promise. Outside the hospital, life continued its unrelenting rhythm. The distant sound of wheels on linoleum, nurses calling out patient names, the faint murmur of visitors. Inside, the chaos of the world seemed to fade for just a moment. Brittany tilted her head and smiled softly at him. "You've been so strong for everyone else for so long, Chris. Maybe it's time to be strong for yourself, too. Let me help you." He looked at her, a mixture of relief and gratitude washing over his face. "I've been waiting for that, for someone to remind me I don't have to do it all alone." The small hospital room felt warmer somehow, the walls less cold, the beeping machines less intrusive. They sat side by side, hands intertwined, feeling the fragile yet undeniable beginnings of a new chapter. A chapter built on honesty, patience, and a willingness to face life's uncertainties together. Chris whispered softly, more to himself than to Brittany, "We've got this. One step at a time." And Brittany squeezed his hand gently, a silent promise. Whatever storms may come, they would face them together. The weekend had arrived, and with it, a rare quietness in the Slatton household. Chris took the opportunity to spend some much-needed time at the McDonald's where he worked, a place that had always been a comforting constant in his life. He loved the routine, the predictable rhythm of his shifts, and the way familiar faces greeted him each morning. But today, something felt different, lighter. Brittany had insisted on coming along, eager to see the place where so much of Chris's life had unfolded. They walked through the doors together, hand in hand, and immediately the staff's smiles widened. Many had watched Chris's incredible transformation over the years, both physical and emotional, and they were proud of the man who had emerged from the challenges. "Look at you, boss man," Brittany whispered as they walked past the counters. "You're glowing." Chris chuckled, shrugging modestly. "I've got a good coach," he replied, glancing at her. The couple moved to a quiet corner of the restaurant, where Chris pulled out his phone. He wanted to capture this moment, not for social media, not for fame, but for himself and Brittany. A snapshot of normalcy, a memory of the life they were building. He adjusted the angle, making sure Brittany was smiling, her confidence radiant, her posture proud. Later, as the lunch rush began, Chris returned to his managerial duties. His energy was palpable, fueled by his new sense of purpose and the stability Brittany brought to his life. Orders came in steadily, and he handled them efficiently, even playfully engaging with the regulars who knew him from years past. Brittany watched him, a soft smile on her face. "You've come so far," she said quietly. "Not just with your health, but with everything." Chris paused for a moment, leaning against the counter. "It hasn't been easy," he admitted. "But having you here, having someone who believes in me, it makes all the difference." They shared a brief, comforting glance before returning to their routines. In that moment, surrounded by the familiar hustle of fries sizzling and the chatter of customers, they realized something profound. Happiness didn't always come in grand gestures. Sometimes, it came in quiet support, in small victories, and in the shared understanding that no one had to face life alone. As the day wound down, Chris and Brittany stepped outside into the golden afternoon sunlight. The air was warm, carrying the faint scent of fried food and freshly cut grass. They walked slowly, side by side, savoring the simplicity of the moment. "Do you think people ever stop chasing the next thing?" Brittany mused aloud. Chris smiled softly, glancing at her. "Maybe. But I think it's not about chasing, it's about finding moments like this and holding on to them." Brittany nodded, squeezing his hand. "Then let's hold on to this one." And as they stood together in the quiet of the afternoon, it was clear that for Chris and Brittany, this moment, humble, ordinary, yet filled with hope, was exactly what they needed to keep moving forward, stronger and more united than ever. The evening sky over Dixon, Kentucky, was painted with streaks of gold and pink as Amanda Halterman stepped onto her small balcony, taking a deep breath. The day had been filled with calls, messages, and minor celebrations of her progress, but now she allowed herself a moment of quiet reflection. 2025 was shaping up to be a year of transformation, not just physically, but emotionally, too. Amanda scrolled through her phone, pausing at a series of throwback photos she had recently shared on Instagram. They captured her at different stages of her life, laughing with family, celebrating milestones, and moments of introspection. Each image reminded her of the strength she had developed over the years and the challenges she had faced along the way. Her thoughts naturally drifted to Leonard Moore, her new love. Their relationship, though still young, had become a motivating force in her journey. With him by her side, she felt more confident tackling goals that had seemed daunting in the past. Amanda smiled as she remembered their recent dinner, a quiet evening filled with laughter, shared stories, and gentle reassurance. "I can do this," she whispered to herself, a quiet affirmation that strengthened with each breath. The next morning, Amanda was up early, determined to start the day on a productive note. She set out a light breakfast, carefully measuring portions, and prepared her workout space at home. The energy she felt was different this time. It wasn't driven by pressure, judgment, or past failures, but by a genuine desire to embrace her health and happiness. Amanda's phone buzzed with a message from Leonard. "Good morning, beautiful. You got this today." Her lips curved into a smile. "Thanks, babe," she typed back. "I'm ready." Later that day, she ventured out for a short walk, enjoying the crisp autumn air and the sound of leaves crunching beneath her sneakers. Neighbors waved, and a few fans from the series recognized her, complimenting her progress and cheering her on. Each smile, each encouraging word, fueled Amanda's determination. Back at home, she reflected on the journey she had embarked upon over the past few years. Weight loss surgery, setbacks, emotional struggles, and moments of doubt had all tested her resolve. Yet, she realized that her strength didn't lie solely in the numbers on a scale. It was in her resilience, her ability to keep moving forward despite the challenges. Amanda paused at her mirror, looking at her reflection with a newfound appreciation. She wasn't just striving to be smaller, she was striving to be healthier, happier, and more confident in her own skin. The thought made her chest swell with pride. As the sun began to set, Amanda settled into her living room with a journal in hand, jotting down goals for the coming weeks. Each entry was infused with hope, self-encouragement, and gratitude for the support system she had built, her family, Leonard, and the fans who had followed her journey faithfully. For Amanda Halterman, this moment marked a turning point. She wasn't merely following a path laid out by circumstances or obligations. She was charting her own course, guided by determination, love, and the unwavering belief that the best version of herself was yet to come. The morning light spilled through Amanda Halterman's kitchen window, illuminating her carefully arranged breakfast. A cup of green tea steamed gently beside a plate of fresh fruit, a quiet reminder of the healthy habits she was committed to maintaining. Today felt different. It wasn't just about staying on track. It was about proving to herself that her renewed motivation could be sustained. Amanda's phone buzzed repeatedly with notifications from fans, friends, and Leonard. Messages of encouragement flowed in, many praising her honesty about her journey and the courage to embrace a new chapter in her life. She smiled, feeling the warmth of connection that spanned from her local community to followers across the country. Leonard's text appeared last, simple but impactful. Remember, every small step counts. I'm proud of you. Amanda's fingers hovered over the keyboard before she typed back. Thank you. Let's make today count together. She laced up her sneakers and headed out for a walk, this time choosing a slightly longer route along the familiar streets of Dixon. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the sense of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. With each step, Amanda felt more in control, more grounded in her body, and more certain of the path she had chosen. As she rounded the corner near the local park, she spotted a few familiar faces from the series waving at her. Their smiles were genuine, their admiration evident. Amanda waved back, feeling a surge of pride and a sense of belonging. The journey wasn't just hers. It was shared with those who had followed and supported her. Later that afternoon, Amanda set up a small home workout session. Music played softly in the background, energizing and familiar. She focused on strength exercises, breathing steadily, and listening to her body. The plateau she had previously encountered no longer felt like an obstacle. It was a challenge, a puzzle to be solved with consistency and patience. By evening, Amanda was journaling again, reflecting on the day's accomplishments. She documented every small victory. The distance walked, the controlled meals, the moments of self-encouragement. Each note reinforced her commitment and served as a tangible reminder of how far she had come. As Leonard joined her for a quiet dinner, Amanda felt a renewed sense of partnership. Their conversations were filled with laughter, shared dreams, and quiet moments of understanding. He had become a source of strength, but Amanda knew the real power came from within her. The love she felt, the support she received, and her own determination were all pieces of a puzzle that was slowly but surely creating a new version of herself. That night, Amanda stood at her bedroom window, gazing at the starry sky. "I can do this," she whispered once more, her words carrying weight and conviction. For the first time in a long while, she truly believed it. The 1,000-pound sister's star was ready, not just to continue her weight loss journey, but to embrace life with confidence, love, and resilience. Whatever challenges lay ahead, Amanda Halterman knew she had the tools, the support, and the mindset to succeed. The holiday season had just passed, but Amanda Halterman was already thinking about the new year and what it could bring. The glow of her Instagram feed reflected more than just lights. It reflected hope, growth, and determination. Her recent posts of throwback photos, showing a slimmer version of herself, weren't just nostalgia. They were reminders of what she was capable of and a roadmap to where she wanted to go. Her new relationship with Leonard Moore had given her a spark she hadn't felt in years. Amanda smiled as she scrolled through photos from their small gatherings with family and friends. Leonard's calm support and steady presence had become the anchor she needed, the silent cheerleader who reminded her that her journey was about her, not the cameras, the followers, or the public opinion. Amanda had noticed something different within herself recently. It wasn't just the physical changes, though those were evident, it was the mental shift. She no longer saw setbacks as failures. Instead, she framed them as lessons, opportunities to reassess and grow stronger. That mindset had helped her power through a plateau she had been struggling with for months. Despite the slow pace, Amanda knew consistency and patience were key. That morning, she took a deep breath as she laced up her sneakers and prepared for a brisk walk. Leonard had promised to join her, and his presence made her feel accountable in the best way. "Ready?" he asked, offering his hand. Amanda nodded, determination in her eyes. Together, they stepped out into the crisp Kentucky air, their steps matching in rhythm. As they walked, Amanda reflected on how far she had come. Years ago, the thought of even small daily activities seemed overwhelming. Now, she pushed herself further than she thought possible, fueled not only by the desire for physical health, but by a sense of self-worth she hadn't fully embraced before. Leonard glanced at her with a smile, and Amanda realized that true motivation didn't always come from external praise. It came from within, nurtured by love, support, and personal accountability. By the time they returned home, Amanda was flushed but energized. She posted a quick story on Instagram, a selfie of herself smiling, captioned, "Small steps, big changes. Let's keep going." The responses flooded in, fans and followers cheering her on, leaving supportive comments about her courage and progress. Amanda felt a warm sense of validation but reminded herself that her journey wasn't for anyone else, it was hers to own. Later that evening, as Amanda sat down to plan her meals and workouts for the week, she noticed a feeling she hadn't experienced in years: calm confidence. The world around her, the cameras, and even the pressures of her sister's fame felt manageable. Amanda had learned that she didn't have to compete or compare. Her focus was her own path, and now she was ready to step fully into her spotlight. Her phone buzzed with a message from Leonard. "Dinner tonight? Celebrating progress." Amanda chuckled softly and typed back, "Absolutely. You're the best cheerleader." The reminder of her support system, the love of Leonard, the encouragement of family, and her own inner strength reinforced everything she was building. She was ready for what 2025 could bring: growth, love, and the continued transformation of both body and mind. Amanda Halterman's journey wasn't just about weight loss or Instagram posts. It was about reclaiming her identity, embracing love, and proving to herself that she could take the spotlight, not to overshadow anyone else, but to shine as her own person. And as the night settled over Dixon, Kentucky, Amanda felt more empowered than ever, ready to face the future with determination, love, and resilience. The next morning, Amanda woke up to the soft golden light streaming through her bedroom window. The world outside seemed calm, but inside, Amanda's mind buzzed with determination. She had made a promise to herself. 2025 would be her year of transformation, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Leonard, already up and making coffee, smiled when she walked into the kitchen. "Morning," he said, handing her a mug. Amanda took it with a grateful smile. "Morning. Ready for our walk today?" Leonard nodded, his eyes warm. The support he offered wasn't just encouragement. It was a gentle reminder that Amanda wasn't alone in this journey. They walked together through the quiet streets of Kentucky. Each step was measured, deliberate. Amanda had learned that progress wasn't about speed, it was about consistency. And today, she felt more determined than ever. As they walked, she reflected on the past months, the setbacks, the triumphs, the plateau she had faced in her weight loss journey. All of it had led her to this moment, to a place where she felt in control of her own destiny. Returning home, Amanda decided to take a moment for self-reflection. Sitting on her porch with a notebook in hand, she began writing down her goals for the coming months, increasing daily activity, tracking meals, setting small fitness milestones, and most importantly, focusing on mental wellness. Leonard watched quietly from the doorway, understanding that these moments of introspection were as important as any workout or diet plan. Later that day, Amanda posted on Instagram again, a collage of old photos juxtaposed with current ones. Her caption read, "Looking back to see how far I've come and looking forward to where I'm going. Progress, not perfection." Comments poured in from fans, friends, and family. The encouragement was heartwarming, but Amanda knew the real reward was the pride she felt in herself. In the afternoon, Amanda and Leonard decided to cook together. The kitchen was filled with laughter, clattering pots, and the aroma of healthy meals. Amanda realized that these small, joyful moments were just as important as the workouts or the calorie counts. They were part of building a sustainable, happy lifestyle. Leonard teased her playfully as she chopped vegetables, and Amanda laughed, feeling lighter in spirit than she had in years. As evening approached, Amanda sat with her sisters, Amy and Tammy, discussing plans for upcoming family events and potential filming. Amanda noticed the subtle shift in her role within the family. She was no longer just the older sister who occasionally appeared. Her voice mattered, her choices mattered, and she felt herself stepping into a newfound confidence. Before bed, Amanda checked her phone one last time. Messages from followers, friends, and even fans of the show filled her screen. Words of encouragement, excitement about her transformation, and support for her relationship with Leonard reminded her that while her journey was personal, it resonated with others. Amanda smiled, setting her phone aside. She was ready to face the next day, the next challenge, and the next step in her journey, stronger, happier, and more motivated than ever. The next morning, Amanda awoke to the faint chirping of birds outside her window, a gentle reminder that life moves forward whether we're ready or not. She stretched, feeling the subtle soreness from yesterday's walk, a small but satisfying sign that her body was responding to the effort she had put in. Leonard was already in the kitchen, humming softly as he prepared breakfast. "Morning," Amanda said, a smile tugging at her lips. "Morning, love. Ready for a new day?" Leonard replied, setting down a plate of scrambled eggs and avocado toast. Amanda took a bite, savoring the flavors. It wasn't just about nutrition. It was about creating a lifestyle that she could sustain, a rhythm that made her feel alive and in control. After breakfast, Amanda decided to document her progress in a journal she had started months ago, but hadn't consistently kept. She wrote about her feelings, her small victories, and the challenges that still loomed ahead. She noted the plateau she had hit recently and reflected on how she could overcome it, brainstorming strategies to mix up her workouts, adjust her diet, and maintain her mental focus. Writing it all down felt like shedding a weight she couldn't see. Mental clarity often precedes physical progress. Later that afternoon, Amanda met up with Tammy and Amy at a local park. They had planned a light hike together, an activity that allowed them to spend time as sisters while also staying active. Tammy, always vocal and protective, teased Amanda the moment she arrived. "Look at you, all motivated and ready to conquer the world." Tammy laughed. Amy, equally supportive, added, "We see the glow, Amanda. You're doing great, seriously." The three sisters walked along winding trails, chatting about life, family, and their shared experiences on 1,000-pound sisters. Amanda realized how much these moments of connection fueled her. It wasn't just about the weight loss. It was about the support, love, and understanding that came from being surrounded by family who had lived through similar struggles. As they reached the top of a small hill, Amanda paused to catch her breath. The view was breathtaking, a panorama of rolling Kentucky hills bathed in late afternoon sunlight. She felt a surge of gratitude. Every step she took, every small decision she made, was part of reclaiming her life, and encouragement from her sisters and Leonard made the journey feel shared rather than solitary. That evening, Amanda returned home and shared her day on Instagram. She posted a photo of herself at the hilltop, a radiant smile on her face, with the caption, "Small steps, big views. Progress is progress, no matter the pace." The response was immediate. Followers flooded her comments with encouragement, many sharing their own struggles and victories. Amanda felt a quiet pride, Her journey was inspiring others, and that gave her an extra layer of motivation. Later, Amanda and Leonard settled in for a quiet night at home. They cooked dinner together, laughter filling the kitchen as Leonard attempted to make a salad, and Amanda corrected him with gentle teasing. These small domestic moments became precious rituals, grounding Amanda in a life she was actively shaping, one conscious decision at a time. As Amanda prepared for bed, she reflected on the day's achievements. Every hike, every mindful meal, every journaling session, and every supportive word from Leonard and her sisters contributed to the transformation she was cultivating, not just in her body, but in her spirit. Amanda smiled, feeling more focused, more motivated, and more ready than ever to tackle the days ahead.
Hey, that Amy got physical. That's not